Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. And the agenda for today's lecture is to, uh, to give a basic overview of what is HDFS. We already have gone through this HDFS stuff in our previous lectures. Then we will go to the storage inside HDFS cluster. Later we will try to understand what are the files and how do we store files in HDFS, and then we will go through the overview of architecture is HDFS. So let us start. HDFS stands for Hadoop Distributed File System, and it is the file storage component of Hadoop. So how does we store a large file inside HDFS cluster? Suppose we have a large file, say for example, it's going to be a 200 MB, and the name of the file is going to be something like new file.txt. Let us assume that the file is filled up of the numbers of some integers, and we have a client machine or the gateway machine which is actually connected to the Hadoop cluster, through which the user try to actually write some files or move some files from the local file system into the Hadoop cluster. Once the user actually tries to push the file into the Hadoop cluster, the HDFS component of Hadoop will try to break up this user input file, which is 200 MB in size, into smaller chunks. The block size, which is actually going to divide it, is something which is configured by the administrator. Usually, the default split size is going to be 64 MB for Hadoop 1.0. However, depending upon the requirement, it can be configured to 128 MB or 256 MB, or in some cases, even 512 MB. However, it's not recommended to go below 64 MB due to optimization purpose. So we need to understand that we can't go below 64 MB due to optimization purposes. Now this 200 MB file would be split into four blocks. Each of these blocks would be getting the unique identification code, something like file 1, file 2, file 3, and file 4. It can be anything like name 1, name 2, name 3, and name 4. Now the fourth block going to be just 8 MB. That is 200 divided by 64. And whatever is left over, that's gonna be the remainder block. Now the basic question that would, that would actually come to everybody's mind is where exactly is input file getting divided? Is it after the file is actually moved into HDFS cluster, or does it happen well before it is actually moved into the HDFS cluster? Well, the answer is, let you people think about it. So I'll give the answer. When the user moves file from an external server of a local file system into the HDFS cluster or into the Hadoop cluster. So now what exactly happens is that the client machine tries to communicate with the name node, and name node will give out the information about what is going to be the default split size that is configured, based on which the client machine would get the idea of how big each input splits are supposed to be. And the splitting of the files actually happen in the client machine. At the same time, the name node would also give out the information about the host name of the IP addresses of the data, uh, and of the data nodes, which has free space to actually store the data. So the client machine will end up directly writing those blocks on the data nodes. Important point is here that which blocks decide on which data node is actually going to be governed by a specific set of rules, which is going to be handled by the file system manager, or simply the Hadoop distributed file system component. It's not going to happen randomly. Now, uh, now the thing is that we gone through how the file is stored in HDFS. let us try to understand something related to HDFS architecture, which basically consists of a combination of name node and a secondary name node, which is just as a backup source to the name node, and then we actually have the user interface to the cluster, which is called the HDFS client. It's interesting to note that the data node would be sending a heartbeat signal to the name node once in every 3 seconds, just to indicate that it's going to be up and running. If the data node actually fails to send the signal once in every 3 seconds, the name node would assume that the particular data node is dead, and then it has to take action for actually replicating the data which was originally present on the node, which now no longer existing. Apart from this, the data node apart from this, the data node would also send a status information to the name node once in every 6 hours. However, this can actually be configured to a different number by the Hadoop administrator. This information is simply the block status report of the data node, which is sent once every 6 hours to the name node, will be complete detailed information about which blocks are going to exist on that particular data node. So that's all for this video. We will come up with new videos in my new lecture. If you like this video, kindly share, like and subscribe it. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you. Thank you so much.